Chair, and I'd like to thank you all for your presentation, and certainly I have read through the notes and there's several points that I would fully agree with. I know the cost of living crisis and indeed the accommodation crisis is putting extra mental strain on third level students, there's no doubt about that. But I'm just wondering as well, like, is there any particular programmes that are currently in place that are working well, that could be rolled out to a greater degree or maybe across all colleges? That you know, I suppose what I'm asking for is an individual sample, or is there any kind of a case study done where a particular programme has worked well that could be applied elsewhere as a template? And also I'd just like to know, I know from meeting USI representatives every year, in fairness they have flagged this with us TDs and senators, that mental health is a massive issue, and they would be very much involved with the students in doing what they can to fill gaps. But I'm wondering, have you much collaboration with USI and the student unions, because I think that would be key, you know, in terms of, I suppose, improving things and putting preventative measures in place, and the collaboration, as I say, can yield results. And I suppose my final point is that, you know, we do need, I suppose, an awareness campaign. You know, to a certain degree, there are many students who still feel that the stigma is associated with mental health, and while we have made strides and progress, unfortunately that stigma is still there. And is there any national campaign that you're involved in trying to raise more awareness and take away that whole stigma? Thanks.
I might just speak firstly with the co-design, if you so wish. So it's the involvement of students. Okay, so I might just start with that one. Yeah. I think anything to be successful in the area of student mental health requires working with students in terms of what they would like to see for their supports. So we can provide professional services through our counselling service, and Tressa can speak about that in a moment. But also we need to also understand from a student what prevents them, talk to them and actually find out what are the types of services that they would need. Now, there will be some students who will struggle and need short intervention. Then there will be other students who have more significant need, and then there'll be others with psychiatric diagnosis. So we've a range. So you were asking about, so I can answer the two together. You're asking, do we have a programme that kind of we could universally roll out? In my view, that's probably not likely, in that students differ. Students, you know, if you go from mild to moderate to severe to very severe, so one student is very severe, what will work for them may be very different to somebody who is presenting with a mild issue that may need a very short intervention, or maybe just need the support of somebody back near their college or their school where they're doing their program. So I think having a universal solution is probably not likely because they are unique, and so that's one thing. But I do think raising awareness is very important, and raising awareness is probably best done working with students, the Students' Union, USI, on what, and talking to them about co-producing something that has resonance. So if you want to reach students, you need to actually engage them in what it is you're actually trying to provide. There's no point in us being over here saying this is what you need. We need to ask them, what do you need, when do you need it, and how best will we do that?
Okay, thanks very much.
Just to respond to your questions there, Deputy, we have a lot of collaboration from psychological counsellors. We meet with USI regularly, and we also work on the HEA Connecting for Life working group, which is kind of overseeing a lot of the sector-wide funding and delivery. In terms of programme, in terms of what Senator Dolan referenced, Together All is an evidence-based, anonymous peer support platform. So that was, you know, on back of 6 months of research into, you know, what could be a really beneficial service that would augment and work alongside the counselling services, but for students at different levels of intervention, as Barbara mentions. For some students it might just be that those normative transitional stressors and strains and finance and etc., those sort of things, but also it caters for those with more severe mental health difficulties, in that it's clinically moderated. There's 24-hour mental health professionals on that platform, and they are trained to escalate to emergency services where they need to, and then also action then with the counselling services the further resources and treatment that somebody might need. And in terms of working with, I suppose, the USI and delivery of other programmes that have been a benefit, the Tech Support Service 50808 that was launched in 2020, actually in September 2020. So it's a keyword partnership with the higher education institutions, so we can get high-level data back at the end of each year around the usage around that. Now, that started pre-pandemic, pre-March 2020, but by God, we were very happy to have it when we all went into lockdown and isolation. And that was in response to the USI survey that was launched in 2020, which indicated that I think around 26% of students wanted a text-based support service provided by the institution, and just under 27% wanted a text-based support service provided by an external service at the institution. And I suppose our identification of 50808, because it's a HSE service that we promote and endorse, kind of spoke to both of them at the time. The other sector-wide thing, I suppose, that the programme that's been really beneficial has been specific suicide intervention training called the Collaborative Assessment and Management of Suicidality. And again, this is on back of funding from the HEA and the HSE joint funding. So we were able to train 235 counsellors across the country in student counselling services in terms of that specific focus on suicidal risk and how to reduce suicidal risk and work with suicidal students on campus.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I would also say, like in our colleges, we would have like dedicated student support officers and dedicated student counsellors. We've noticed a huge increase since before COVID. Like one of our colleges said 157% increase in the demand for counselling services from their institution. And I think engagement with students is very, very important to see what they need, what they want. So we would regularly do surveys in relation to finding out that part. And we would do a lot of mental health promotion part in relation to the Together All. We aren't included in that initial pilot, but Trasa and ourselves have touched base and are discussing it and seeing how we can be part of these initiatives in future. At the moment, we seem to be excluded from a lot of the national campaigns, a lot of really brilliant national campaigns, I must say. And we want to put our hand up and say that we'd like to be involved in those as well.
Okay, thanks very much.